morning, everybody. I wanted to do a little video. I just posted most of these where I'm trying to post the day I make the video, and I'm down by Cole Park. Kids are skateboarding. Look how pretty it is here. I want to talk yesterday when I was making the video that I uploaded earlier on the Second Coming. You'll notice that my phone rings. Now, if it does it now, I don't, we'll go as long as we can. But it was a New Jersey call. So I don't ever answer the phone, call back. I never listen to messages. But I had a feeling, let me listen to that message. And the message broke up, but I could tell it was my friend Fred. Now, me and Fred and Cheech, we all were friends together. I'm going to tell some stories today, a little bit. I know we just said we don't tell war stories on the other video with Pops, but I'll share as much as I can. The message, I called Fred back, and Fred told me he was looking on the computer online, and I thought the message broke up, but then he told me, he said, Cheech died. Cheech is, I grew up in New Jersey, North Bergen, and we all have friends. Cheech was an old-time friend of mine, and a lot of people eventually, when you start getting in trouble, a lot of people won't hang out with you, and Cheech went down some of those roads, and me and Jimmy had fun. One day Cheech pulled up, here's some war stories. He pulled up in front of my house on 91st Street, North Bergen, Smith Avenue. Must have been 1979 or 8 or something like that. And we used to ride dirt bikes together. A place called the Flats. You North Bergen guys are going to remember that. But one day he pulls up in front of my house in a Nova, a blue Nova. And he beeps the horn and he says, hey, you want to take a ride with me to Perth Amboy? Perth Amboy is one of the little cities there on the New Jersey shore area. And so he said, Perth Amboy, it's windy, so I'm going to talk loud. And I said, hey, where'd you get the car? I found it with the keys in it. And sure enough, I went with him. He wanted me to go because he had a girlfriend that when me and Cheech grew up together, he was going out with Donna, and he had a little boy that I knew when the kid was young. Now, I didn't see his sons the last time I was up, who are now grown, but me and Donna and Jimmy, we hung out and we did a lot of stuff. So anyway, we go to Perth Amboy, and he wanted me to go because he was gonna, I don't know if it was that day or another day, but he wanted me to be like the protection if he gets in trouble. So we do go, and I think it was the same day, and we're hanging out because his girlfriend was going out with some other guy named John, not me. And so we're in another town, so you got to be careful. And we're looking, Cheech's looking for this guy. He's going to beat him up, I've gotten into it with Cheech. I beat Cheech up very, very badly one time. He went to the hospital. But it was after this incident. It was something that had to do with this incident. So we go, and we're in some baseball field in Perth Amboy, where I didn't know where we were, but Cheech knew that town, because I guess Donna, I don't know if she lived there at one time. So we go, some kid, we're walking around, we're going to find this guy. I think we had one other guy with us, Eddie. 2 guys for protection. Me and the other guy were going to be the... So some kid sees us in the baseball field in Perth Amboy, and he has like a little box, like a secrets box. He just walks up to us and has some joints, pot. You guys want to get high? Sure. So we get high. Starts getting dark out, and that kid walks back, and they were with about 30 guys. Work was out. Cheech's in town. I thought we were going to get killed. And it was at night, and we were already high. So those guys came up to us. Now, they didn't do any damage. They didn't hit me. But it was lucky we got away. We managed to get away. We didn't run, but nothing bad happened. So that was one little experience. And then we came back to town, and I got into it with Cheech at the carnival. I beat Cheech very, very badly. And it was probably, I'm sure it was unjustified. He was supposed to pay me a little thing for this little protection thing, and he, not a big thing, but anyway, he never paid. Gave me what he was supposed to give me. So I just said one night I was with a friend named Frank. I said, if I see him tonight, he's going down. Sure enough, Frank Romano, there he is. And I beat him up very badly. Beat him up. He beat him up very bad. He went to the hospital, and then people later said, oh, the cops are looking for you. And it was not too long after that I joined the Navy and left. Not because of that, but just so happened I got out of New Jersey. And then I became a Christian and very involved in ministry. And my first trip back to see my old friends, it might have been about 3 or so years later. It might have been longer. But if I was the type of Christian that wanted to witness to all of your old friends, Cheech, everybody, and I saw Fred. Now, Fred's the one who called me on the phone yesterday. And the first thing he tells me, I haven't seen him in years, and I was already joined the Navy, kicked out of the Navy. But I went back before that, because now I remember, but this was the first time back after I made the change, conversion. And the first thing Fred says is, hey, he said, I saw Cheech, but this was incident of years. He said, it looked like he got hit by a truck. He said, what did you do to him? Cheech claims you beat him up with a pipe. I said, no, but I hit Jimmy very hard. And I drop-kicked Jimmy in the face with boots. And my friend Frank, who was with me that night at the carnival, he pulled me off of Jimmy. And then the next day when I went to school, everybody was like, oh, you're going to do good in the Navy like that. Yeah, get kicked out. That was Jimmy. Now, Cheech and my old friends, I would always keep in touch with those guys over the years. And Fred would call, and I'd keep in touch with Fred. Sometimes at the fire department, I'd call Fred on the weekends, and we'd just talk. Good friends. And I got some stories I can tell, incidents Fred would remember. He's watching the YouTube videos, he told me. But one time, I was at the halfway house that I was helping my friend here in Corpus Christi, which was not far from here. And this was many years, just a few years ago. I haven't heard from Cheech in many years. And I'll tell this because Cheech did 8 years in Rollway prison. And I knew he was in prison because my friend Fred told me. When Cheech was in prison, I wrote Cheech. He was very depressed. His marriage was breaking up to Donna. And I sent Cheech $25, $30 trustee. He was so grateful for that. I did that for many years with my other friends, so that was not new to me. But he never forgot that. And I was at the halfway house here a few years ago. Got a call, said New Jersey. I said, okay, I'll answer it. Then I used to answer my phone. It was Cheech. I said, I can't believe you found my number. He was in a halfway house in Newark. This was a few years ago, I guess, or last year, 2 years ago. But he got released from the Rollway prison. He did his 8 years, and he was in a halfway house. And I told him, this wasn't the last visit last year, this was before that. I said, when I come up, Cheech, I'm going to look you up in Newark. Sure enough, I did. I made a trip. I drove to Newark, found the address, and that halfway house had closed down. But I didn't know where it was, and it was something, though, that he called me when I was at the halfway house here, and he was in New Jersey. So, sure enough, I I started making these trips back to North Bergen. And he calls me out of the blue, like right before my last trip of 2014. He says, John, I'm living, he told me it was very hard to adjust. But he said, John, I got an apartment here in Fairview, right by North Bergen, where we grew up. He didn't know I started going back. I told Cheech, I said, I go back to North Bergen every year now. So the last trip, these few videos, I put the link for the Black Sabbath video. That's me and Cheech. We told some war stories on that. And then there's maybe one or two more with me and Cheech just hanging out. And I just hang with the guys, They know that I don't use or do anything. And he saw me with all those other guys from New Jersey that I met. And Nick and all these guys. And one day I was with Jimmy at the apartment. I said, okay, I gotta go see a guy. And Jimmy's like, how'd you meet all these guys? I said, this is what I've done for many years. And we had fun. But I don't answer my phone. I don't answer text. I thought Cheech was reading all my posts. Just figured maybe he's in touch. But when I got back to Texas in November of 2014, we hung out in October of 2014. But when I got back, Cheech texted me, and a few times I posted a few pictures that he had on the Facebook. He was so grateful. Oh, I just remembered. I'm going to show you something. Do I have it on me? Yes, I got it on purpose. So, I got a few texts from Cheech. John, call, please call. And people could read a lot of the struggles I had. And so when I get texts that say, please call, I'm sure people are concerned, but I don't want to go through, all that stuff. So that's why I really don't text or answer anything. Now I'm worried because if I've not looked at Facebook messages, in a year. Got a ton of them on there. I don't know. I don't look at that. I'm worried if I look, it might be that Cheech was having some problem. I don't know how he died. I don't know what happened. But we had fun. I'm grateful that I reconnected with Cheech. I want to show you something here. I was sitting, if you can see it, that's a class ring from Horace Mann. I was sitting with Cheech in the apartment that he had, very nice apartment in Fairview. And he had the divorce from Donna. He was waiting, wanted all of his stuff and how divorces are. So we got back to his house one day, apartment, and he had the package. Oh, I was supposed to get my gold ring and this and that. He had a big old gold nugget ring. He had that. He was going to give that to me. I said, no, I wouldn't take that. But this little Horace Mann, we both went to grammar school in North Bergen. It was called Horace Mann. And it was his class ring. He offered it to me. At first I said no. But then he offered it again. I said, I'm going to take it. I felt maybe I should get something from this trip. It's another thing I got from the atheist. And it was funny because on the ring it's got like a little, if you can see this, on the ring it's got like a little lamp. See that lamp? Okay. There it says 1977. So on the ring it had a little lamp. And I told Danny, the atheist friend, I said, I wanted something significant, spiritual meaning, I said, and I felt like it was going to be a ring, I was thinking that before Jimmy gave it. I said, I think it's got some meaning, Danny, my atheist friend. He's a jeweler, used to be a jeweler. I said, I think it probably has some meaning. I said, but it's got a genie bottle on it. And he says, genie bottle? Let me look at it. This is actually, he looks at it, he says, no, that's not my atheist friend. John, that's not a genie bottle. He said, that's the eternal flame with the oil lamp that never goes out. And then he says, actually, you should know about that. Isn't that in the Bible? It actually is. I said, that's the significance. Scripture talks about an eternal flame. So we get that imagery from the Olympics. The candle, the flames were never to go out. And this is actually a lot in the Bible, there's stories about that. So that was kind of fun. I'm grateful for the time I had with Cheech. We went and visited his mother, who was very sick. She was staying in an apartment there in Fairview. And Cheech said, my mother, she's very sick, Alzheimer's and all types of things. Sometimes she doesn't even recognize her own son. He said, but I'll take you to visit her. His mom was nice. She always remembered me. As soon as we went in, he said, do you remember John? She said, good boy. She used to call me that. And he was very surprised that she remembered me. I prayed for his mom, actually, because I prayed for healing. And so Cheech was with me, seeing all that, and that was like a good opportunity. It was a good chance for him to interact. When I went back after, I did get in that very bad fight with Jimmy. I remember Fred said in the early days, I said, I'm back, I want to go visit Cheech. He said, maybe you better not. But I visited him, and I think he told Fred, if I see John, but he knew, he saw there was a change. And I'm grateful. Fred also told me his brother is on dialysis in the hospital. Now, Fred doesn't talk with his brother. They don't talk. But Fred, who was the good friend I grew up with, he knew I started contacting his brother because his brother was homeless for a while, living in Hackensack. And I do that. So me and Frank Edwin, who was also a friend on Facebook, we were hanging out, and Frank was part of the ministry. Frank actually studied to be a preacher at one time, so he was aware of what I was doing. And he said his brother's on dialysis. I didn't know that. And so all of my Facebook friends who are sick or who have had these things, I pray for you all in general, but I'm not keeping up with any of that. Just felt that's the best way for me to do it. I wanted to do this short clip because I'm grateful that me and Cheech got together and had time, and I planned on, I didn't know he passed away. I thought I was going to go back this month for a quick trip, and I was going to surprise Cheech. So God has ways he does things. I want to encourage everybody, this is just a short talk, I'll probably go see Pops in a little while. I want to encourage you, make the most of the time you have. Pops, I take him now to some hospital things, doctor's appointments, and I could see how, and the VA wasn't going to pay, and it could be a rat race when you go down that road. I don't tell people, the hospitals are good, okay? Doctors are good. It's a big part of Scripture when I taught it these last few years is some of the great portions of Scripture, the last few chapters of Genesis, King David's last words to his son Solomon. A lot of the passages when the men of God were ending their lives, these were not like panic situations. Oh no, I got to do everything I can to, live. They understood this was a process, and as this life comes to a close, it should not be a fearful thing. It should not be a panic thing. It's a process. You say, okay, as life comes to a close, here's the final words to friends, to loved ones. That's a very, normal process. In Scripture it is. So I don't advocate no treatment for things, or it's just you can get caught up in a rat race with that, and fear drives that. So today, maybe I'll quote that one from Hebrews. It says, Jesus, through death, he defeated him who had the power of death, that is the devil, and who through fear of death, us, were all our lifetime subject to bondage. We are now free from that, okay? Death is the great equalizer. And when there are injustices in society and injustices with various things, death and the finality of it, for those who are doing the will of God and are righteous, it's something that's looked to in this sense. There will be a judgment. And even and all the injustices when I teach these philosophy courses or posts, there's an underlying theme that in order for society, civil society to function, some of the earlier Immanuel Kant and Locke and these guys, though they were not fully the Christian view of natural moral law and philosophy, but yet they understood that the reality that there is a judge that we will stand before someday, they believed that that was necessary in order for civil society to function. And so in these cases, you see me post about guys on death row. Death is something for those who are doing what's right. We're all going there. To arrive at that judgment, move out the way. Those that think they're getting away with stuff, knows that all comes out. That all comes out. So that reality, the finality of death, is an encouragement for the righteous. Okay, I want to bless you today. I think I'm going to go see Pops. And I'm not sure the next one we're going to do. God bless you.